With every world championship, there are always a handful of champions that stand out above the rest and dominate the meta. In today's video, we're going to be breaking down 2 high-priority champions for each role, talk about why they're being prioritized so much at Worlds, and if they're champions worth picking up for your solo queue games. But before we get into it, be sure to check out SkillCapped if you want to truly get better at League of Legends. We're the only service that offers a money-back guarantee if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. We do this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't pay. Learn more at the end of this video or click the link in the description below. One of the most OP top lane champions that pro players have been exploiting this year is K'Sante. At the time of recording this video, K'Sante is being picked or banned in 67.5% of games, while his win rate so far is 35%. You can't really look too much into the win rate though, as it is a small sample size, and oftentimes the teams who are picking K'Sante are just outmatched as a team. A bunch of K'Sante's losses have come from Western teams playing him against LPL and LCK teams, so no matter which top lane champ they would have picked, winning those games are quite unlikely. It's really the versatility of K'Sante and his overloaded kit that makes him such a high priority champ. Skirmish power is amazing, gank setup is great, and the champ literally becomes a tank who can still output ridiculous damage. K'Sante does have a higher skill floor and skill ceiling than most top lane champs, but if piloted well, the champion can be devastating. Historically, because of this skill gap between an average and mastered K'Sante player, he has really struggled to find as much success in solo queue as he has in pro. This is until the past 2 patches though, as Riot has made K'Sante slightly easier to play, while shifting some power away from his burst and giving him more tank traits. If this video was made before Worlds started, then we would not have been able to recommend K'Sante as a champ you should pick up for solo queue, but that is no longer the case. Remember, Worlds is being played on 13.19, but for solo queue we are now on patch 13.21. If you've enjoyed watching K'Sante at Worlds and have been thinking about picking him up for solo queue, he's in a perfect spot now and a phenomenal add to your champion pool. The highest presence top lane champion at Worlds right now is Rumble, as he is being picked or banned in 77.5% of games. 19 bans and 12 total games so far, winning 9 of those 12 for a win rate of 75%. Rumble is easily the highest win rate top lane champion at Worlds. So, why is this the case? 3 of Rumble's 9 wins have come in the Jax matchup, and in those games, the Rumble player absolutely took over. Cloud9's only win against Fnatic came from Fudge with a 1v9 performance on the Rumble being able to abuse the Jax matchup. So much of Jax's power comes from his ability to dodge autos with his E, but Rumble being a spell-based champion makes it very difficult for Jax to win out against a good Rumble player. Rumble is just an incredibly valuable champion as well when it comes down to those big team fights around key objectives. Since Rumble can go even or win lane in a lot of the meta matchups we are seeing and can also transition extremely well into the later stages of the game, he's such a powerful champion to have on your team. For solo queue specifically right now, Rumble has lost a bit of power over the past few patches due to the anti-snowball nerfs coming in. Between K'Sante and Rumble, K'Sante is definitely the better solo queue option right now of the 2 highly contested top lane champs at Worlds. The 3rd most contested champion at Worlds this year and the most highly contested jungler has been Maokai. A whopping 92.5% game presence, being banned 29 times, only getting through the ban phase 8 times, and winning 4 of those games for a 50% win rate. 2 of those 4 losses came from G2 picking Maokai against Gen G, so you really can't look into the 50% win rate at all when considering the champion's strength. Maokai just offers everything you would want from a tank jungler. Engage power, disengage strength, incredible setup with his flash W, and what really sets him apart from other tank options is his ability to control choke points and not have to face check bushes due to his E. Control around objectives is so much more valuable in pro play than it is for solo queue, where teams can be way more coordinated. Having a Maokai in your team so that nobody ever has to walk up and face check a brush is extremely OP in pro. With that being said, solo queue Maokai is actually quite good right now as well. He may not be as broken for solo queue as he is in pro, but we have him rated as a strong S tier pick on our tier list, so we definitely recommend picking him up. The jungler with the 2nd highest presence at Worlds, who has also been a dominant solo queue pick for a while now, is Jarvan. 75% pick ban rate for Jarvan at Worlds, banned in 13 games, picked in 17 games, and winning in 9 of them for a 52.9% win rate. The utility and reliable hard engage power are the 2 key factors that set Jarvan apart from many other options. Gore with Shojin build is just so nasty and puts the Jarvan EQ combo on such a short cooldown. This makes the mid to late game skirmish of Jarvan completely insane and allows him to be extremely effective effective in drawn-out fights. So not only is his instant pick power great, but his extended fight strength is amazing too, which is not something that many other junglers have to the same degree. Jarvan also meshes very well with the meta picks in other roles, as his synergy with Rumble, Orianna, Rakan, and Azir is exceptionally strong. So what about Jarvan's solo queue viability? Is the champion worth picking up? Most definitely, as the reasons to why Jarvan works so well in Pro also translates really well into solo queue too. Engage power and skirmish strength are so valuable in a champion for solo queue, and Jarvan possessing both makes him a great jungle carry. Tied in the #1 spot for the most contested champion at Worlds this year is Orianna. With an absolutely astonishing 95% game presence, Orianna is the definition of a pick or ban champion. The stat line right now has her being banned in 24 games while picked in 14, winning 8 games for a 57% win rate. Ori is simply the best blind pickable mid lane champion there is. You can put her up against anything and you're pretty much guaranteed to be impactful throughout the game. It's pretty hard to punish Orianna in lane and she scales really well with items, so it's just such a reliable champion. Now, for solo queue, it is a little bit different as there are certain assassin champs that you can play into Orianna and she'll have a more difficult time. Besides Akali, assassins are completely absent from the pro meta right now, and when a meta is established in pro, it's pretty unlikely for players to shift focus, so blind picking Ori is just so free. In regards to Orianna's solo queue viability, she's a really great option right now, but just not on the same broken tier level as in pro. In solo queue, assassins are played a lot more, so you don't get the same kind of free scaling matchups like we are seeing in pro. Not quite as high priority as Orianna, but still being picked or banned in 75% of games is Azir. So far, Azir has drawn 19 bans, has got through the ban phase 11 times, and has won 5 of those games for a 45.5% win rate. It's the combination of playmaking potential while also being able to sit back and be a ranged DPS threat that makes Azir so powerful in the right hands. The range of Azir's engage is so far that you don't even need to give away ganks at all, and can dive in and catch the enemy out without them expecting it. Although Azir does not have the strongest early game, by running teleport, it's pretty hard to substantially punish him early on, and if Azir does not fall behind early, he's going to be extremely impactful with high CS scores. Azir literally has the most damage per minute for any mid lane champion that has been picked in more than 5 games at Worlds this year, so it just goes to show how disgusting his extended fight power can be. Because of Azir's higher skill floor, the success of the champion has never really translated from pro into solo queue. Azir is 10 times better in a more coordinated environment while piloted optimally, and that's just never going to be the case in solo queue. Of all the champions we've covered thus far, Azir is the one pick we would advise you stay away from. The champion with the most ridiculous stat line at Worlds so far this year has been Xayah. Not only does she have a 95% pick ban rate tied with Orianna, but her win rate is completely nuts. Xayah has been banned in 20 games, picked in 18, and she has won 15 of those games for an 83% win rate. 15 wins and only 3 losses so far for Xayah at Worlds, which is far and beyond the highest win rate for any champion that has been picked in more than 10 games. Renata and Sylas both have 85% win rates, but they have both been played in only 7 games and picked sparingly in spots to where the champions really excel. Xayah, on the other hand, has been picked in all sorts of scenarios, so an 83% win rate is way more impressive than the 85% from Sylas or Renata. The only losses for Xayah have come from pretty mismatched games as well. First loss was Crowny playing Xayah against JD, so that was probably a loss regardless of who he picked. The second Xayah loss was from Slater of Gam against Gen G, so once again, it's kind of an auto loss for Gam there. Third and only other loss was from Berserker playing Xayah against Fnatic, and we can always count on NA disappointing, so should we really even count that as a loss for Xayah? To be completely fair though, on the flip side, a lot of Xayah's wins have come from the favorite team in the match picking the champion. There really weren't any upsets to where the team who won with Xayah was the underdog, so a lot of her wins have definitely come from the fact the stronger team in that game ended up picking her. So although the win rate is pretty nuts and interesting to talk about, it definitely can be a bit misleading. For solo queue right now, Xayah is not anything too special, as we have champs like Jinx, Jhin, and Ziggs who were all recently buffed after the Worlds patch that are just way better options. Xayah is not all that bad for solo queue, but she's not in a spot to where we would highly recommend her. The ADC with the second highest pick ban presence at Worlds this year is Kalista at 85%. Now, it's actually in the ban phase where Kalista is drawing most of this presence, as she is the most banned champion right now at 29 games. She's only been through the ban phase and locked in for 5 games, winning 2 of them for a 40% win rate. There's nothing really to take away from the win rate there, as it's only 5 games, but why in the world is Kalista being banned so much? There are a few factors in play. Support meta right now is heavily focused around melee engaged supports like Rakan, Alistar, and Rell, and those are who Kalista has traditionally traditionally synergize the best with. If it were an enchanter meta, the priority on Kalista would likely be nowhere near as high. Kalista also has a lot more agency than most ADCs throughout the early game, and in pro play, advantages early on can snowball way harder than in solo queue. A Kalista who's perfectly in sync with her support can offer a lot throughout the early game, which gives her way more power for pro play than solo queue. Especially with the recent anti-snowball patch coming in for solo queue, it's even less reliable to pick Kalista for the average player, and we definitely side with Xayah if you want to play an ADC that pros are prioritizing. The support with the highest game presence at Worlds this year is the support with the highest playmaking potential, being Rakan. Rakan is currently being picked or banned in 75% of games, banned only 8 times but picked 22 times, and winning 12 of those for a 54.5% win rate. There's really no better support when it comes down to pulling off snap engages, and it gives Rakan a ton of priority over other supports, especially in team fights. Of course, there are champs like Alistar, Nautilus, or Leona that have strong engage power, but the quickness, ease of execution, and range in which Rakan can engage from is just far superior to any of those. Rakan works even better for pro play than in solo queue because his engaged plays are capitalized on so much more when the entire team is on the same page. With that said, Rakan is still a really great solo queue pick as well right now, and definitely one of the better OP pro picks that you can play in your ranked games. We've had Rakan rated in the OP tier or S tier for support for quite some time now, and if you're a support main but have yet to pick him up, don't wait any longer. Right in behind Rakan with a nearly identical pick ban rate is Alistar. Alistar is coming in just a smidge below Rakan with a game presence of 72.5%. Alistar is actually drawing more bans than Rakan with 12 so far, being played in 17 games, but only winning 6 of those for a 35% win rate. So Alistar and Cassante are 2 champions who are extremely high priority, but who have pretty low win rates thus far. Funnily enough, Alistar is actually racking up the majority of his wins in the Rakan matchup. Alistar has won 4 games and lost 3 games against Rakan. One support who Alistar has not won a single game against is Rell, losing 3 times. Rell does a really good job at nullifying the engaged potential of Alistar, and she really limits what the champion can do. So with the champion not performing so great, why do the pros consider Alistar as an OP pick and are giving him this much priority? Besides Rakan, Alistar is next in line when it comes down to that engaged support. The reliability of his Q flash combo can set up plays very nicely, while Alistar can act as more of a frontline than many other supports due to his ultimate. Being able to pull the trigger very quickly and find that engage is so valuable for pro, and a big reason why not just Alistar, but picks like Rakan, Maokai, Jarvan, and Vi are being picked so much at Worlds. For solo queue, Alistar is a pretty good pick at the moment, not super top tier, but definitely good enough if you're thinking of picking him up. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent challenger players into ELO Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. So that's going to wrap everything up for this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you back soon.